to be named the Orange County YWCA Woman of the Year and to be recognized at the Fullerton Women's Leadership Conference for contributions in philanthropy. Just like today, I was inspired to give a speech at each of those events. I told the story of how I became passionate about helping children and families with special needs, which ultimately led to my involvement as a director of Fullerton Cares Autism Foundation and volunteering for other organizations that serve families with special needs. I am absolutely terrified of speaking in front of people. So after giving those speeches, I would always ask my husband Larry if he liked my speech, if it made sense, if I spoke slowly enough. I never do. I'm a fast talker. And he was always very kind and supportive and would tell me I did a great job. But after the second speech, he said, "That was great, but why were you only telling them half the story?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, most people who have been through what you have been through don't end up accomplishing what you have accomplished." So I told him my reasons for not sharing my life history with everyone. I wanted to keep the speeches positive. I didn't want to bring the mood down with anything sad. And frankly, I didn't really know if anyone wanted to hear my story. But I recently read a poem a friend had posted, and it resonated with me. The poem is called "The Uses of Sorrow" by Mary Oliver. It's only 2 lines, so it's going to be very quick. The poem says, "Someone once gave me a box full of darkness. It took me years to understand that this, too, was a gift. So I decided that today I would tell the whole story." I was 5 years old when my parents sat my sister and I down to tell us they were getting a divorce. I was well aware of the fights that they were getting into way too often, but it was still a shock. Of course, we were upset about the fact that my dad would not be living with us anymore, and that what I thought a family looked like was not what my family was going to look like anymore. However, those things were actually easy to accept in comparison to what we were about to learn. It turned out my dad wasn't who I thought he was at all. I loved my dad. I still remember the day I brought him to my kindergarten class in a giant box, opened it, and surprised all my friends that he was my show and tell item. I remember him and his friends staying up all night on a rainy Christmas Eve to put together a swing set that he could be surprised on Christmas morning. He included my sister and I in every project around the house, teaching us about tools, gardening, cars, anything else that dads usually fix. But not long after my dad moved out, the perception of my dad, and frankly my entire life, changed. Not long after he moved out, we learned that my dad had a girlfriend. However, this wasn't a new girlfriend. This was his secretary. Before we had even a chance to settle into a life without my dad in the house, we were spending our weekends at his girlfriend's house with her 2 daughters. So we also found out that he was a heavy smoker. Now, for a lot of people who grow up in households with parents who smoke, may not think this is a huge deal. However, I can't tell you how many times we were told by my mom and dad that smoking was a terrible thing to do. And now my dad, who I looked up to, was doing this terrible thing. My 6-year-old brain had such a difficult time with this. I was a rule follower, and my dad was breaking the big rule. I won't go on and on about the multiple instances that made me realize he was not the dad I looked up to, who I loved to learn from, and who I felt loved by. No, instead I was forced to leave my mom every other weekend to visit this man who I didn't really feel I knew anymore. As you can imagine, under the circumstances, this was not a simple divorce. It was bitter and ugly. There was betrayal, hurt, and resentment. It took my mom a while to recover and to start to build her life again as a single mom. She went back to work full-time so she could keep the house we lived in, but there wasn't much left from the paycheck after the house payment was made. We struggled financially, but she always made the best of it. I remember one Christmas when a local church left the ingredients for a full Christmas meal and an unbelievable amount of Christmas gifts for my sister and I. This was the first time that I realized we were one of those needy families our church would talk about and ask the congregation to give donations to. My mom did everything in her power to focus on what we did have, not what we didn't have. She not only made our childhood fun, but practically magical. She loved to surprise us at Christmas, often sending us on a scavenger hunt to find the one toy that we had been hoping to get all year. My grandmother would help pitch in, and they would take us to Santa Barbara every summer for vacation, where we would go to the beach at night and throw light sticks into the waves. We would come back to the hotel soaking wet and exhausted from retrieving our light sticks in the surf. We would sing Barry Manilow songs at the top of our lungs in the car on her portable cassette player. And she loved Disneyland. We would get to go once a year. She was like a kid at Disneyland, and I have so many wonderful memories that we shared there. However, our lives would take yet another turn when my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. I believe I was around 8 or 9 years old when she was diagnosed. She underwent a mastectomy and began chemotherapy. As a child, you hear the word cancer on the news, but it just doesn't mean much to you. But the severity of the situation became clear as I saw how sick she became on chemo weekends. I would clean up after her when she vomited and tried to be super quiet so that she could sleep as much as possible. However, seeing the physical difference when she started losing her hair was probably the hardest thing for me to accept. She didn't look like my mom anymore, and it really, really scared me. My mom was a fighter. She continued to work throughout her treatments in order to support us. She charged on, and eventually was officially in remission. We were thrilled, and she even bought a personalized license plate frame that said, "Feeling fine." She wanted the world to know that she was back. The doctors told her that if she could make it to 5 years of remission, she would be considered cured. She was determined to get there. During this time, we continued to visit my dad, my now stepmother and stepsisters, every other weekend. I wish I could say things had gotten better with my dad. However, his behavior and actions were becoming even worse, and we dreaded our visits. Before every visit, I was so optimistic that it would be different, but I was always disappointed and often came home crying to my mom from the horrible things he would say or do. She was always there with a snuggle and just the right words to make me feel better. After 2 years in remission, my mom felt like something wasn't right. She wasn't feeling well. I went with her to the doctor. I'll never forget the moment we sat in the waiting room, and she turned to me and asked me, "Do my eyes look yellow?" I looked into her eyes. I said yes, and she replied, "That's not good." I was terrified. That doctor visit was in November. My mom passed away on December 15th. The cancer had spread to her liver. I was 12 years old. At 12, I was embarrassed to let anyone see me cry, so I didn't. I acted as if I was okay, but I surely wasn't. She was my world, and 12 short years was not enough. I never really allowed myself to breathe, and this took a toll later in my life. At the time of my mom's passing, my dad had recently moved to Arizona, so we asked him if we could stay with my grandmother so we wouldn't have to leave our friends in California. He agreed on his terms, which were that he would never have to pay another dime of child support. My amazing grandmother agreed and took on the task of raising 2 teenage girls who just lost their mother. Moving in with my grandmother meant that we also had to change schools, yet another change I wasn't ready for. I wanted to be at my school with my friends. It's tough changing schools in the middle school year, especially in junior high. Although I believe my grandmother was a saint for taking in 2 teenage girls, she obviously couldn't replace my mom, nor did I expect her to. But now there were no summer vacations to Santa Barbara, there were no scavenger hunts, no Disneyland trips, and definitely no singing along to Barry Manilow. During my high school years, my dad divorced my stepmother, and I had hoped that he would magically turn back into the dad I knew before the divorce. My dad never came to California to visit me except my high school graduation. When I would visit him, I would try to plan family activities I saw other families do. But it always ended up with someone getting their feelings hurt or an argument. Every visit ended in tears and disappointment. I struggled in the later years of high school and after graduation into my 20s and early 30s. I was going through the motions of life, doing things I should be doing at that age, like starting college, and I got married, but I wasn't really enjoying life, and I certainly didn't have any passions I was pursuing or goals that I set for myself to reach. At that time, I had a skewed sense of life, death, and time. I struggled to succeed with anything I set out to do. I would often quit halfway through because I didn't think it was worth investing the time because I felt like my life on earth was so short. What was the point? It was almost as if I actually feared success because I wouldn't know what to do after, even if I reached it, or what the point was because I was just going to die anyhow. I had one final incident with my dad at the age of 29. This was it. This was the day I lost my second parent. He didn't physically die, but it was the day that our relationship ended and the day I finally decided to grieve the loss of my dad. I lost him when I was 6 years old, and it was time to come to terms with that. This was a turning point in my life. My daughter was born a year later, and my motherhood journey began. Instead of holding on to the memories of my mom when I was little, I was now creating memories for my little girl. And then it happened. History repeating itself. I was getting a divorce. But I did learn from history. We decided to put our differences aside and work together to make sure our little girl was always our top priority. We agreed never to live more than 15 minutes away from each other, and we always stay true to that. We go to all her school functions together and are constantly in communication with each other to make sure she gets all the support she deserves. I tried to make her childhood as magical as my mom had made mine. Okay, to be honest, I stole all my mom's ideas. So, there were scavenger hunts for Christmas presents. We had annual passes to Disneyland since she was 2 years old, and yes, I even took her to a Barry Manilow concert last year, and she giggled as I sang every one of his songs at the top of my lungs. But more importantly, as Madeline got older, I realized that I didn't want to be afraid of success or failure anymore. I wanted to show my daughter that she can achieve her dreams if she works hard and stays the course. Yes, life is short, and you should enjoy every minute as if it is your last. But there's also plenty of time to achieve the dreams you set out to achieve. When I met my husband, Larry, he was just starting Fullerton Care's Autism Foundation after the diagnosis of his son, Boyd. Larry is a guy who doesn't just dream big, he makes sure it happens. This was the first year of the comedy show for autism and Mardi Gras for autism. Being by Larry's side as we planned even bigger and better events, I realized that I should dream bigger and better for myself too. I wanted to finish college, make a difference in my community for families with special needs, and ultimately turn my passion into a career and become a pediatric occupational therapist. My stepson Boyd helped me to realize my passion and gave me the drive to pursue it. Being an example to my daughter, Madeline, gave me a reason to pursue my dream, and my husband, Larry, has given me the support and direction to achieve my goals. We are coming up on our 10th year of Mardi Gras for Autism, and I am in awe of what we have accomplished in a short amount of time. We have provided iPads to classrooms in the early days when special ed classrooms didn't get the same technology the other classrooms did. We built a sensory garden for the students at Commonwealth Elementary. We have hosted several autism awareness lunch parties so that the entire school can better understand our kiddos with special needs. And most recently, we have built a sensory room for our students at Sunset Lane Elementary. I am also very proud to say that I finally graduated with my master's in occupational therapy last January. I am now a full-time pediatric occupational therapist working professionally with children with special needs every day, and I absolutely love it. But what makes me even more proud is watching our children thrive and accomplish big things. Boyd has come so far with his communication, his academics, and his social skills. He is such a sweet, smart, and funny kid. Madeline has pursued her passion of the arts by getting accepted into the Orange County School of Arts, where she excels not just in the arts, but academics as well. It is so great to see them charge forward without the fear and hesitation I had experienced when I was younger. Recently, I was watching an interview of a survivor of the Boston Marathon bombing. She was a runner and had lost her leg in the blast. She received her prosthesis and began training again to run another marathon. The person conducting the interview asked her how she keeps such a positive attitude after such a horrible experience. She said, excuse my language here, she said, look, everyone goes through shit. This just happens to be my shit. And I thought, right on. She's right. I had to learn that I could either let my circumstances and past consume me, or I can create a life I always wanted. And now with my little family, our Autism Foundation, our 2 restaurants, my dream career, I finally feel like I'm not searching for that life anymore that I've always wanted, that I'm finally living it. So thank you for listening to my story today.